1, 2, 3, 4. I got thoughts running through my head. I got thoughts, can't you see? I got thoughts, the books I read. I got thoughts, won't you listen to me?
Welcome back to The Author Has Thoughts. This week I'm continuing my series on my fourth cyberpunk novel in the Bridge Chronicles series, The Long and the Short Swords. The book starts out with Bridge meeting a client, or what he thinks is a client, on a park bench in front of an open-air mall in Los Angeles. Now, when I think of Bridge walking up to meet a client, especially from this book forward, where he has the money that he's made from the Gangland production, I've been listening to a lot of Rolling Stones lately, just because my knowledge of them is not as complete beyond the singles and such as I would have hoped. But when I think of him walking up to meet a client, I always think of the song "Sympathy for the Devil." Not the woo woo part, but the part, that first couple lines of the song is, "Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste." That whole vibe of, just that smooth, slick talker who comes in and gives you everything you want, but there's a price, and you may find out that you don't actually want what you thought you did. But that's what I think of when I see Bridge walking up to this guy. It's just this, supremely confident, bebopping along in his Blade Runner-esque trench coat, even though, let's face it, he probably wouldn't be wearing a trench coat even in November this is set in November. In Los Angeles, he's probably not wearing a trench coat because it's not going to be raining, and it's going to be hot as balls. I believe this one, let me check my stuff. Yeah, see, August 2029 is when this book takes place, and I'm pretty sure in L.A. in August he ain't wearing a trench coat. But that's what I see him as, and that's probably kind of my holdover from the late 90s, or from the mid to late 90s of, thinking a trench coat was just the coolest looking thing ever. I'm almost as bad as Image Comics creators and their character designs. If he wasn't wearing a trench coat, he'd probably have shoulder pads and about 17,000 pouches on his body. If you don't know what I mean, look up Comic Tropes YouTube channel. He's got some good discussions on the tropes of comics, especially from the 90s with Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee and all the Image guys. But trust me, shoulder pads, trench coats, and pouches all over the place, along with guns that are too large to even pick up. So Bridge meets this client, and I liked the idea of the fact that Logan would not want to meet him himself, knowing that he's on the run from this clan. He would want to meet through proxy, and the proxy Logan uses is some dickhead who works in, I think, the yogurt store in a mall. In that mall, he kidnaps the dude, puts what the guy thinks are explosives on him, explosive vest underneath the coat, and has an earpiece where he's talking to the guy and having a conversation through that dude with Bridge. Meanwhile, he's half a mile away in a room overlooking the park bench with a sniper rifle, in case this is a setup, in case Bridge is not who he's supposed to be. So I kind of like the idea of Bridge having this conversation with the guy, and the guy just being, skittish as hell, and Bridge at first thinks, well, he's on the run. That's why he needs new papers. He needs a new identity. And then gradually Bridge figures it out, and it's like, oh, so that's what this is. And that's when he uses kind of a thieves' cant little sign language to Mew, who is his new Technomancer bodyguard, to go and trace whatever signal is coming from the dude on the bench to find the source of it. That source being Logan. And I wanted to set up right away the idea that the Purists, or this idea of the Purist magic against the Technomancer magic. Because one of the things that the RPG had and the lore of the original trilogy had was we had technomancer magic, we had shamanic magic from Native American shamans, we had the purist magic, and at one point I talked about Hungan, voodoo magic, although that one never really got developed very far. I think I only added it in like the quote-unquote second edition that was so bad, where I learned that, math is hard. But I wanted the idea of showing that this assassin dude wasn't just a badass because he was a badass. He could, use guns, use martial arts, use swords, but he also had magic. And the magic for the purist, one of the things I've struggled with in the series is using magical terms, but trying not to sound like it comes out of a pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons campaign, even though it kind of does. It sort of is like that. So, trying not to call things telepathy or telekinesis or fireball spell, or, when I do, maybe do it tongue in cheek. So I kind of struggle with how to term some of the purist powers, the magical powers. But things like Cloud Men's Minds, which I took from the Shadow, the old pulp and comic book character, the Shadow. Cloud Men's Minds, and then Shadow Stepping, which is where the purist will dash, almost kind of like a Jedi Force dash, across the room super quick and not being seen by the eye, as well as the ability to conceal himself by, what did I call it? I don't know, hiding shadows or shadow walker, something like that. I wanted to have the powers of the purist be mainly those focused on illusion, and then physical augmentation, just basic burst of things that happen. Illusion by throwing sounds off so that they hear something to their side, and then they're turned distracted, and then he cuts their head off. Then I wanted to pit that against the Technomancer to show that the Technomancers are badasses, and we know they are, and we find out from that Mew is, a bit of a badass with his spells, but they're not invincible. They're not completely invulnerable because of those spells. So the fight between Mew and Logan, I thought was a good way to illustrate that and just to have fun. So I had fun with that. I had fun with that, writing that. I think I've said in one of my videos before that the two things I think I write the best are snappy patter dialogue between two people and action, action sequences. And I think this book actually is a pretty good indicator of that. So one thing I actually discovered on rereading the book is that either Bridge or I really amped up the smart-ass quotient on Bridge. He was just left and right, just smart-assing, and I think I might have been trying to write him with a little more style, a little more patter, and a little more slangy-esque, just tossing words around. But man, he is super sarcastic in this one. Just a big old smartass, to the point where it's kind of surprising nobody didn't just slap the shit out of him. But again, part of that is showing that Bridge has kind of gained a little bit of street cred, not only because he has a Technomancer bodyguard, which does help, but also because of the thing he pulled off with the gangland. I mean, nobody in the gangland likes him other than maybe Stonewall, but they now realize they have to respect him because he kind of saved their asses. Now, he made bank off that, but that's Bridge. What are you going to do?